Great, thanks so much, Esther, and good afternoon to all of our attendees. My name is Andrew Schulte. I'm a colleague of Esther's at ICF and a member of the Energy Star training team. Normally, this spot here today would be taken by Stacy Gladding, who is EPA's head of the Energy Star trainings work. Unfortunately, Stacy was not able to join today, so she asked me to stand in to welcome everybody and introduce our guest speakers today. We're really excited about this presentation. We're very glad to have you. As you probably all know or will know soon, training brokers to promote the energy performance and sustainability achievements of your building is really a key to attracting clients and executing green leases. So today we have 3 Energy Star commercial real estate partners who are going to be sharing with you how their organizations provide energy efficiency training for brokers and how they recognize their accomplishments. So I am going to introduce each speaker before their respective sections, but we're going to get started today with Rachel Shifton from Cushman & Wakefield. Rachel joined Cushman & Wakefield in June of 2018 as a sustainability project manager. She provides end-to-end sustainability and project management solutions to clients, including assisting teams to set and achieve superior sustainability goals, as well as to earn LEED, True, Fitwell, and Energy Star certification. She's committed to creating tangible solutions that meet the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit for all parties. Prior to joining Cushman & Wakefield, Rachel worked at the U.S. Green Building Council, where she served as a certification support specialist. While in graduate school, Rachel interned at the Council of Environmental Quality at the White House and supported the development of the guiding principles for federal sustainable buildings. And before focusing on sustainability, Rachel worked as a financial analyst at Bank of America in Charlotte, North Carolina. So with that introduction, I'm going to pass things along to Rachel to get us started today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew and Esther, for that introduction. Like they said, hi, my name is Rachel Shifton, and I'm a Sustainability Project Manager at Cushman & Wakefield. Cushman & Wakefield's Sustainability Service Team partners with Asset Services to provide actual sustainability solutions to transform our managed properties into energy-efficient assets. This partnership helps property managers and owners to discover cost-saving opportunities and implement best practices that optimize building operational performance, enhance the tenant experience, and mitigate environmental risk. Our solutions are customized for individual assets, portfolios, and organizations that benefit from local market opportunities such as rebates, tax credits, and project incentives. Later in this presentation, I'll go over some real-life examples of assets within our portfolio that have benefited from these opportunities. In terms of energy and sustainability benchmarking, C&W is a strong believer in you can't improve what you don't measure. Throughout this presentation, I'll discuss ways in which our team has helped clients monitor, analyze, and track energy to identify performance improvement opportunities. From tenant spaces to whole building assets to portfolios, our services create ROI by boosting building operating efficiency and lowering operating costs while simultaneously reducing GHG emissions and carbon impact. While we train brokers to promote the energy performance and sustainability achievements of buildings, communication is also key. So not only have we been holding trainings for brokers featuring the value of asset energy performance, but we're also updating them along every step of the way so they know what the current status is of Energy Star and encourage the use of Energy Star as a differentiator in the market. These lead to our team assisting brokers in benchmarking additional buildings in our Energy Star portfolio manager. So the following slides are just some examples of internal communication that's gone out to asset managers, brokers, and anyone else in the company that touches energy performance. So we let them know on how these changes will affect how clients set and measure energy and sustainability goals. It's especially imperative in some markets where current and potential tenants, landlords, or GSA clients who require Energy Star certification for a building were made aware of how the new metrics will affect Energy Star scores. And lastly, we share with them the good news that Energy Star for office buildings will be opening the end of this month. So we realize that Energy Star may not be always on the top of a broker's mind, so keeping everyone informed and communicating often is a goal our team has had in terms of leveraging brokers to promote energy efficiency. We've also provided a customized Energy Star for Brokers Lunch and Learn presentation for those in our DC office to learn more about Energy Star and how they could leverage the Sustainability Services team to find energy cost-saving solutions specific to a building, its occupants, and the client's overall real estate strategy. I'll go into a little bit more depth on our sustainability real estate investing and sustainability in action and key ESG consideration trainings we've given our brokerage teams. So it's been noted that green, energy-aligned, or high-performance assets can reduce utility bills by up to 22% in the U.S. and can overall create deeper energy savings, less pollution, and greater tenant well-being. In order to have effective, sustainable asset investments, it requires buy-in and cooperation through policies, vendors, operations, and culture. It's important that all these coexist in order to promote multifaceted building efficiency to increase returns and save resources. In the end, this will unleash win-win energy efficiency investments that save money for both the landlords and tenants. Lastly, in these trainings, we paint a picture of how asset energy performance aligns with financials and environmental goals of both landlords and tenants to work together to save money, conserve resources, and ensure the efficient operation of buildings while providing a handful of other valuable opportunities. Now I'll go into two proven results in which the Cushman & Wakefield Sustainability Services team was engaged early on to show how energy upgrades provide considerable value to both owners and tenants. So here, recent improvements to the Portrait building in downtown Washington, D.C., including lighting upgrades and the installation of VFDs on the HVAC equipment, are a real-world example of the potential gains. 3 efficiency measures completed for a total of $169,946, or about $1.27 per square foot, will pay back in a little over 2 years and highlight the financial value of investing in building energy efficiency. The owner decided to undertake the efficiency projects, some of which were actually unbudgeted, because the analysis showed that these efforts would increase the property's NOI and add value. The NOI increase was made possible by the fact that capital expenses that reduce operating costs are recoverable through tenant leases. Project costs are amortized and passed through the tenants, and the owner and tenants share in the benefits of the project. While the Portrait building already had a market advantage due to its prime location in downtown DC, the asset further improved its market position by investing in cost-effective, energy-efficient measures. These measures have benefited tenants, the environment, and the bottom line, adding significant value to the property. Here's a quote from the owner endorsing how modest investments in energy efficiency will have a large impact on a property's bottom line while benefiting tenants and the environment. In another example, 1320 North Courthouse Road in Arlington, Virginia reduced energy consumption by 30% in the past 2 years by a lighting retrofit and implementing a BAS program for global heat lockout based on outside air temperature set point. You can see the payback and the ROI of both investments on the slide. The asset certifications are promoted to various stakeholders by signage in the 1320 North Courthouse Road lobby, on the building's website, and other leasing and marketing materials. These plaques help to recognize key players that were involved in various certifications, including tenants, vendors, the building team, and other stakeholders that work together to make this a success. Achieving these certifications also provided as a marketing incentive to leasing agents competing for environmentally conscious tenants. Here's an example of a marketing material that 1320 North Courthouse Road leasing agents use to promote available tenant space within the Fitwell building. Cushman & Wakefield is a nationally recognized leader of sustainability practices and certifications. We have provided project management leadership on hundreds of asset certification processes for our clients, including all the ones listed here, all benefiting tenants, the environment, and the bottom line, while adding significant value to the property. Here's just a quick snapshot of our work in 2018. And then once again, my name is Rachel Shifton, and thank you for joining today's webinar and for the EPA's Energy Star program for hosting us.
All right, thanks so much, Rachel. And we do have some questions that have come in during your presentation, so we will save those for the end, but we'll queue those up for you when we get to the Q&A. At this point, I'd love to move on to our second presenter today, Sarah Neff, who is the Senior Vice President of Sustainability at Kilroy Realty Corporation. Sarah took Kilroy from having no sustainability program to being named the #1 publicly traded real estate company on sustainability in North America by GRESB, and also a 3-time Energy Star Partner of the Year Sustained Excellence winner. Under her leadership, the company recently committed to becoming the first carbon neutral real estate company in North America by the end of 2020. At Kilroy, Sarah oversees all sustainability initiatives, such as solar and battery deal making, the implementation of energy and water efficiency initiatives throughout the existing and development portfolios, the integration of sustainability standards into annual financial reports, the launch of the Kilroy Innovation Lab, and Kilroy's award-winning green leasing program. Sarah holds a BS from Stanford and an MBA from the Columbia Business School. So with that, Esther, if you want to advance the slides, Sarah, we will turn things over to you.
Sure thing. So I made Sarah the presenter and have advanced the slides.
Hello? Am I good to go?
Yep.
Great. Hi. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. It's great to be here. So I'm really looking forward to taking the next couple of minutes to talk about broker engagement around energy efficiency. And I think what I wanted to do here was just step back for a second and just talk about what we're asking our brokers to do. So unlike CBRE and Cushman, we don't have in-house brokers. We have an in-house leasing team, and these it's the Cushmans and CBREs of the world that we're hiring to get our deals done. And I think it's really important to remember that that's what brokers are doing, right? They're there to get deals done, and it's important that we're not putting up a whole lot of barriers to being able to get the leases signed. And so with some engagement and some training and recognition, we really feel like engaged our outside brokers to really help us keep strong green leasing practices throughout every new lease in the portfolio. And really, it enables them to explain the benefits of sustainability, as you just heard from Rachel, to the tenants. So let's get started. So just wanted to talk about what this journey has looked like at Kilroy for those who are just getting started. So it started for me, I started at Kilroy in 2010. In 2011, because of a bunch of weird things with LEED certifications, which I don't super understand, like why they wouldn't believe that a building would have to meet building code for a new lease. The build-out shall meet building code into the leases, these sort of strange requests, one-off. When we were building a LEED building and needed to lease it out, I needed that language in the lease, and so I was making all weird one-off requests. And that got kind of annoying for our legal team. And luckily for me in 2012, Kilroy was in the process of growing, and we decided we really needed to standardize our leases. We didn't really have one standard lease. Each region kind of had their own thing. And the lease standardization process, the person running that, bless her, she reached out and she said, hey, look, you weird language to leases one-off. Why don't we just take all the language you could possibly need, stick it in the lease template, and then we don't have to worry about it again. And that was awesome. So we did that, and then the next year we had to do some engagement with our brokers to explain what the heck we were asking for. I think we'll get into this later, was around utility disclosure, why we needed utility data. That was the thing that most. I'll explain why. But we got through that process. It went quite well. And then the next year, we were able to be part of the inaugural class of Greenleaf Leaders, which is a great program run by the Institute of Market Transformation. And at that point, the market totally freaked out, and I will, if you don't believe me, I'll show you the next slide. People did not think green leasing was possible, even back in 14, only 5 years ago. There's no such thing as a green lease. You'll never get anybody to agree to such a thing. It was kind of crazy, and you can see why brokers were so hesitant. But everybody got over it. We were able to then enhance our leases some more. So what we started doing was actually applying for Greenleaf Leaders team transaction, and I'll get into that later. But what that means is you are recognizing the broker. The broker has to proactively say, yes, please include me in the award application, and then their company name is included when you win the award. So that was kind of a big deal to sort of bring them into the spotlight. The next year, or 2 years later, we started running our Brokers for Better Buildings Twitter campaign, which I'll be getting into. We enhanced our leases even more. We do that every time that IMP comes out with new guidance on what makes a great green lease, and we follow them. And then this year, I'm so happy to say that we earned our second Greenleaf Leaders Team Transaction Award. So what do I mean when I said the market freaked out? What I mean is this. You know, articles like this were getting published. This is what the world looked like in 14. It was so unheard of that anybody would go out and say, hey, we have green leases, that like the Motley Fool was writing up articles about it. What everybody's talking about on this call was considered revolutionary only 5 years ago, so it's still pretty new. All right, so what is a green lease? And what do those look like at Kilroy? What are we asking our brokers to keep into the lease as they go through the negotiation process? So the major thing is capital recovery language. This is the one thing I can't take credit for. There was a person at Kilroy, and this was the hill he died on to get this into every lease sometime in the 80s. And basically what this says is that if I am doing a capital project in a building, you know, something like a lighting retrofit or a an HVAC upgrade, not a repair, right? Doing something like that, I can recover that investment over the payback period, not the lifetime of the equipment. If you can think, well, this would be really difficult with an LED retrofit. LEDs can last for 20 years. You can't recoup your cost over 20 years. The tenant will have moved out by then. So really being able to recover something over the payback is critically important. The next part of our leases are referencing building standards. This is a really great tool to use because the building standards are less scrutinized in the leasing process. And so we put a lot of our green language in the appropriate places in the building standards document. The great thing is the building standards document is fluid, it can be updated, and so that's a great place that we put a lot of that information in, and the lease references that. The next thing is submetering. Not every building we're in, but certainly to some. You know, we want the tenants to be able to meter their own energy usage. And when I say not applicable to every building, you know, we have some old buildings in our portfolio with all that fun spaghetti wiring. I'm sure everybody has heard of, where you can't, in any sort of cost-effective way, figure out what the energy use is of a particular floor in a giant building. But where we can do it and where tenants want it, we are able to put that in our leases as well. The next thing is after-hours consumption. Extra for after-hours consumption. This can be pretty difficult in a lease negotiation that we're asking our brokers to do because tenants don't want to pay extra for after-hours. They want the building to be on at any time. But this really helps us keep the building a lot more energy efficient because we're not running our systems except when they are needed. The next thing is green cleaning recycling. And so some about greening up your leases and engaging your brokers is to put some easy things in there. You know, nobody's going to, you know, our leases say something like, the building has a green cleaning program and you're going to be okay with it. And nobody's like, oh no, I don't want a green cleaning program. And so that's a good sort of, you know, an easy give that sort of gets everything on the right foot. So we just say, hey, there is green cleaning. I also say there's recycling, and if you're not complying with our recycling program and their building gets a fine and we find out that it's you, happened to me. I definitely had a big multi-tenant building where somebody on the 17th floor was having a spaghetti party every Wednesday and dumping all the leftover spaghetti into the recycling. I have a lot of questions about this, like, what is a spaghetti party? Why am I not invited? The spaghetti's delicious, and why are there leftovers? But anyway, because of our leases, we were able to recover the fine from that specific tenant, so not everybody had to suffer. And the last thing, which I mentioned earlier, was utility consumption disclosure. This For those of you who are engaging brokers on green leasing and for energy efficiency, this is the hardest language that I have had to deal with, which is amazing because most of my buildings were required to have this information by law. This is the language that often the other strike, just because it seems annoying. They're like, why do I have to bother with, you know, giving you my utility data, like what do you need it for, I don't understand. And as Rachel said, you can't manage what you don't measure. There's a whole lot of reasons why we need this data. It gets disclosed to a jillion different organizations. It goes right into our 10K every year, our Energy Star Partner of the Year application, our own sustainability report, and all the investor disclosures of GRESB and CDP and DJSI. It's really, really important to us that we get the tenant data. And that is the only way we can get it is if it's enshrined in the lease that they have to give it to us. So this is what took the most broker engagement for those of you who are embarking on engaging your brokers for the first time. And lastly, and this is kind of funny, IMT came up with guidance in the last year that a best practice was to have the contact information of a sustainability person in all the leases right section right at the beginning, and so we did. So Kilroy added this, so my contact info is in every lease. This was not a major thing with the brokers, but they sort of this demonstrates is that sustainability is important to us, and it's right there at the beginning, and so the tenant is aware right from the get-go that you're working with a landlord that really, really prioritizes sustainability and that we're going to be working together on a lot of fun projects over the course of the lease. So when just in terms of talking about brokers on green leasing, here's my advice, which is it's really good to be able to rely on ordinances if you are in a city that has one when you're trying to engage your legal teams. Most leases have language saying, well, tenant has to comply with laws. I find that that's not strong enough. Actually, tenants tend to, you know, can fight back on that, like, well, it's not really a law because it's not really a fine, so who cares? You really want to, we have disclosure laws, you have to help us comply with them. That's a good foot in the door. Also, not reinventing the wheel. IMT has a giant green leasing library. You can just Google it. It's easy to find, lots of sample lead language. You don't need to make it up on your own. BOMA also has a giant green leasing guide. So this has been solved before. No need to you know, write it for the first time. Getting the template was a great way to engage the brokers because we have all the language in their standard, and so they didn't have to sort of worry about you know, trying to make sure that everything went in. Everything was just already there, and it's a matter of keeping it in. Adding the softballs is really good, gets things on the right path, like our green cleaning program. Putting a lot of your more aggressive language into the building standard is good. It's a little less scrutinized and also the appropriate place to talk about flush rates of fixtures and whatnot. There will be some pushback. Green leasing is not a slam dunk right away, especially if the other side has never heard of it. At this point with Kilroy, most people get that this is how we do business, but I've even had a really sustainability-focused tenant, an award-winning sustainability-focused tenant. Well, they were like, oh my goodness, this was our first green lease. This was very strange. We had to have a lot of internal conversations, which very much surprised me, but my counterpart there said now this is their standard. And now with any new landlord that they're signing up with, they're using a green lease as well. So you can change the industry that way. And show gratitude and apply for recognition, and I'll get to that next. So what we did, we decided recognition. It's a lot of work for them. It can slow down their deal time. It can take, you know, more explanation. You know, these people have a whole lot of leasing volume. It's really important that you really recognize their work. So what we do at Kilroy is that every year we run an annual Twitter campaign. One year is about our buildings and how they certified, and here's a couple of examples of other things we've done. We made like a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. I'm actually looking out over Hollywood Boulevard as I do this in one of our buildings in Hollywood. So we made a Walk of Fame star for each of our asset managers, and one year we made a baseball card for each of our engineers talking about their energy and water reductions in the portfolio. And so last year we decided to expand on that by engaging our brokers. So I want to talk a little bit about that Twitter campaign and then Greenleaf Leaders. So really quickly, Twitter campaigns are super easy and fun and free. So all you have to do is create an announcement like the one you see on the screen, just that we're launching that campaign and we're really excited to be doing it. And then you have been reaching out to whoever it is you're recognizing. So we reached out to all of our brokers that had signed deals in our LEED and Energy Star buildings and said, hey, can we feature you in this? You don't have to do anything besides saying yes. We'll pull your headshot from the company website, and all we'll talk about is the deal, you know, the square footage of the deal you've done. And guys, I have to tell you that no broker said no to me. I know this may be surprising, but no, everybody was super excited to be recognized. So I'll just show you some examples of ways that we sort of went around this. So this is a broker who has done a ton of work for us, and I couldn't possibly add up everything that she's done. And so she's executed like deals in various buildings of ours, including the one I'm in. And so for her, instead of doing square footage, we did the number of deals because she is a rock star. Next is these guys. I wanted to highlight them, they're CBRE brokers, because they were, I think these were like my most excited guys. They're like, let me know when you're going to tweet it, and I'll let my family know, and they'll follow it. So we got a lot of likes and retweets from like friends and family for them. But I think they were just really excited to be, they did a great job in that building, and I'm just really, really excited to be able to feature them. Here's some more, and I think the other thing that's important is that we made sure that we ask everybody's permission, engage their companies, and then also try to get somebody from every region. We're a regional company, we're all West Coast. It's super easy to just only do this in San Francisco and Seattle, but we really tried to make sure that we recognize people from all of the regions in which we operate. And then the other thing was retail. So this is a small deal compared to a lot of the other ones, but I think it was really important that we recognize brokers from all asset types. I think office often gets the most sort of love, but retail can be green too, and so that's really important too. So we also wanted to make sure that we recognize brokers of various asset types for us. So that's what our Twitter campaign. If you want to go on the @KilroyGreen Twitter stream, you can see all the tweets from last summer. And then I'll just wrap up by talking about Greenleaf Leaders, which is a program I love. Highly recommend that folks apply, and I want to just explain how you use Greenleaf Leaders to engage brokers. So really fast, this was the first time we did our team transaction award. So I want to point out here that we proactively engage with CBRE in that case to say, hey, we'd like you to collaborate with us on this award. I mean, really, I did all the writing of it, but they had to say, yes, please include us. We want our name on there. We want our logo. They were really excited about it when we won. I got to send them a copy of the certificate. So that's a really good example of a way to provide recognition for brokers for doing something great. And then this last year, we did another team transaction award. This is BOMA, last month, really recently, where CBRE and Cushman & Wakefield had helped. And you can't see it in this picture, but this was a deal we did with WeWork. And so I chose that deal for this award because I also wanted to show that you can do green leasing in a co-working situation. I think when you apply for recognition, it's really important to try to show diversity. So we're not trying to apply for the same thing. We're trying to show that this is possible in a lot of different deals and a lot of different asset types. So brokers were super excited about this one too. Haven't gotten the certificates yet, but as soon as I do, I will be sending them along to them. And that is how we are engaging and recognizing our brokers to help with energy efficiency in our buildings. And I think we're doing questions at the end, so I will pass this along.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Sarah. And yes, we are collecting questions, and we'll address them at the end. So any attendees who have questions specifically for Sarah, please send them in via the chat window, and we will compile them. So for the moment, I want to turn to our third presentation of the day, and this will be given by Jennifer Leich, who is Vice President of Corporate Responsibility at CBRE, the world's largest commercial real estate services and investment firm. Jennifer leads CBRE's sustainability strategy and reporting, including the development of the company's annual corporate responsibility report and responses to stakeholder inquiries regarding CBRE's environmental, social, and governance practices. She's on the leadership team for CBRE Cares, the company's charitable giving and volunteering program. Jennifer has an MBA and an MS in marketing from the University of Colorado, Denver, and a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Iowa. She's a LEED accredited professional and a Sustainability Accounting Standards Board Fundamentals of Sustainability Accounting credential holder. Jennifer was named to the Denver Business Journal 40 Under 40 in 2014 and is a graduate of the Leadership Denver class of 2015. Most recently in 2019, she was named to the Environment and Energy Leader 100 list. So with that, I will turn things over to Jennifer.
Great. Thank you very much, Andrew, for that kind introduction. And thank you again for the invitation to present on this webinar. Again, I'm Jennifer Leitch, and I'm guessing many of you on the phone are familiar with CBRE. As Andrew mentioned, we are the world's largest commercial real estate services and investment firm. Just to give you an idea of our scale, we have more than 90,000 employees working in more than 100 countries, and that includes more than 8,000 sales and leasing professionals. So today I was invited to speak about our Business of Green for Brokers training program, and I wanted to give a little bit of history to tell you kind of how we got to that training. So our sustainability journey began well over a decade ago. Our first corporate responsibility report that we published covered the year 2007. Which actually was the same year, the first year that we were named an ENERGY STAR Partner of the Year. And now we've been a Sustained Excellence winner for the last 10 years. So we've been doing sustainability programs both internally and with clients for a few years. And we decided to ramp up our communications around those efforts in 2012. And we created a 4-minute video called The Business of Green. And in that video, CBRE executives discussed the importance of our sustainability efforts for our clients and for our own operations. And that video really helped our employees and our stakeholders more broadly to understand that green was not a passing fad. Again, this is 2012, so a few years ago, that green was in fact a great opportunity for the company to make a significant impact for our clients and for the environment. And amazingly, that video, again, a 4-minute video from 2012, is still available on the CBRE YouTube channel. So if you want to check out a piece of our history, you can search and find it out there. So building on that, in 2014, we recognized that an area that the market had largely overlooked was the widespread training of brokerage professionals. And while we had several brokers who had made sustainability a consistent and regular aspect of their practice, we felt that all of our brokers should have at least a fundamental understanding of sustainability and how it could be impactful to their business. So to address this, we developed a concise 17-minute training video that featured key brokerage leaders from across our company that who described their various motivations for how they incorporated sustainability into their business and the successful outcomes that they had reached. So again, building on the original video, we called this one The Business of Green for Brokers. I know, very original, right? And this was actually launched back in 2015. So the training starts by explaining to brokers how sustainability can give them an edge. And one of the first things we talk about is how prevalent green space is across the United States. So the training highlights statistics from our annual study called the Green Building Adoption Index, which we've been conducting each year in partnership with Maastricht University in the Netherlands, and we've been doing this now for 5 years. The Green Building Adoption Index shows the growth of both ENERGY STAR rated and LEED certified buildings in the central business districts of the 30 largest U.S. office markets. So if you'd like to see the index, the first 5, again, are on our website. There's a screenshot of that on the screen here. And our 2019 study is currently under development. So in the training video, we note that in many U.S. markets, approximately half, maybe half of office space is green. In fact, obviously, that number continues to go up. The city in our most recent study, our 2018 study, that had the highest adoption of green space, again, ENERGY STAR and LEED, was Chicago, with nearly 70% of their office space in their central business district being certified. So if any of you out there who need data to convince your brokers just how much office space is green, certainly, especially here in the U.S., please visit our website and download the Green Building Adoption Index. So the training video then is divided into sections covering tenants, investors, and developers. And in each of those sections, successful brokers who work with those types of clients cover 4 key areas: the sustainability benefits that that particular client would be interested in, the target audience of that client, so who in particular the broker should be speaking with at that client and who would be most interested in engaging around sustainability, specific talking points that the broker could cover with that client, and any specific opportunities that the broker could use to engage with that client. So one example in terms of the talking points to help brokers understand the impact of green beyond environmental impacts, or things like reducing resource use, like reducing energy, reducing water. Obviously, all those things are very important, and I think that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind. But one of the things we tried to emphasize to brokers was that there is a significant impact on employees as well in a green type of space. So we talk about how a tenant may spend roughly 100 times more on employee costs than energy costs per square foot in the space. And that in a sustainable space or a green space, that improvements in air quality, chemical exposure, ambient lighting, transit choices, natural lighting, noise reduction, any of those types of things, and especially many of those types of things when taken together, can positively impact employee productivity, worker satisfaction, comfort and health, and recruitment and retention. So tenants who occupy space in a green or sustainable building can really reduce their employee costs and drive significant financial gains for the client. And that's something that the broker can really get their arms around. They can talk to clients about how they're going to be saving money, not just on their energy bills, which again is maybe the first thing that they think of, but also potentially saving on employee costs as well. So when we launched the Business of Green for Brokers, we supported that training video with a comprehensive resource site on our intranet that included practical applications, marketing tips, more talking points, and market research. And some of those resources included things like guidance on how to develop, negotiate, and implement green leases, templates and examples of green lease best practices. So it sounds like something very similar to what Sarah has at Kilroy. Examples of public sector green leasing resources, international examples, and again, more information about the Greenleaf Leaders program that Sarah just presented on. So within a month of launching that training, again, about 4 years ago, nearly 2,000 brokers had completed the training and had reviewed the materials that we had available on our intranet. And that's great. We were really excited about that. It well exceeded our expectations because it wasn't a mandatory training at the time. It was strongly encouraged from leadership, but it wasn't mandatory. But another thing that we did that I think really helps us encourage people to take the training was we created a contest called the Real Green Broker Challenge to further inspire those brokerage professionals to incorporate sustainability practices into their standard client services. So brokers who took the training were eligible to enter a contest to win a trip to one of the world's premier eco-resort destinations in Costa Rica. And so in order to be able to enter that contest, they had to write a summary of how the concepts included in the training were incorporated into a business agreement and led to tangible outcomes that produced new or additional business. And again, we set the entry deadline several months after the launch of the training, so we would give brokers, plenty of time to actually demonstrate results. And one of our brokers in Boulder, Colorado, earned the grand prize and won that trip for his efforts in guiding his developer clients on a master planned net zero energy campus, which was pretty awesome. So we continued to expand the availability of that training. In 2016, we made the training available not just to brokers, but to all employees globally through our learning management system, where, again, all of our company online trainings are housed. And we incorporated it actually as a component of the required new hire and onboarding curriculum for all of our brokerage staff. And even today, the Business of Green for Brokers is still being viewed thousands of times per year. So it is still part of our broker onboarding and training program. And while I have to say that the content has held up pretty well over the years, it's been really fun timing for this webinar because it's definitely time for a refresh, and I'm really excited to update the training to include more recent examples of some of our broker successes. So we're in the early stages of planning and developing new resources to help our brokers be even more successful. And thanks again for the opportunity to present, and now I'll turn it back over to our host.
All right. Well, in my role as the introducer for today's session, I want to say a big thank you to Rachel, Sarah, and Jennifer for their great presentations today. We'll move on in just a minute to question and answer session. But Esther, do you want to talk a little bit about upcoming webinars?
Yeah, sure. So thank you guys again for all joining us. Thanks to our great presenters. We do have a few more upcoming webinars that may be of interest. On September 12th, there is the Discovering Energy Savings with Treasure Hunts, as well as success stories on holding Energy Star competitions on October 17th, recognizing employee participation in energy management efforts on November 6th, and engaging commercial tenants in energy efficiency on December 5th. More details can be found on the link on the slide, and you can also register for these webinars at esbuildings.webex.com.